Probity, transparency, and stewardship is the foundation and culture of public life. Hence, when the CAMA Act was repromulgated to include new provisions, there was assurance and reassurance from government that the goal was to inspire and enforce due process and healthy corporate governance. How has the repromulgated CAMA worked to achieve this, and what are the challenges of corporate business management in the private sector? Welcome to Fireworks on TVC News. I am Bukola Samuel Wemibo. So thank you for joining us on today's edition of Fireworks. It's an honor to have you on the program. As we start off, and I'm sure that I watched some of your interviews at the time the promulgated CAMA law was being talked about. I heard when you talked about how the goal was to strengthen government's ease of doing business policy. Now, as we begin to review, in the last 7 months or thereabouts since the repromulgation, what are the results that you've reported so far?
Thank you so much, but I must correct this. The implementation actually started on the 3rd of January, 2021. Although Mr. President assented to the CAMA bill on the 7th of August, 2020, the process of gazetting took time because under the Authentication Act, the responsibility of gazetting of any new law is vested in the clerk to the National Assembly. The final official version of the gazette was sent to us in November, and immediately we had to come up with our draft regulations, which was exposed for the first time to our stakeholders because we believe whatever you are going to do that has any effect on the public, they should know what to expect, and you should give them the opportunity to comment on some of these issues. So it was exposed for about 1 month. The inputs, those inputs that were considered germane were reflected, and the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment gave his approval around 22nd, 23rd of December. So a lot of things have changed. As I've said, the implementation started on 3rd January. There are 2 or 3 things that we actually promise Nigerians. One, to provide an electronic system that will provide for seamless implementation of this new law. And 2, to make the process of registration of companies easier, cheaper, and very convenient to everybody. And these are all part of the ease of doing business initiatives. And in relation to ease of doing business, there is no better standard than making it possible for anybody to register his business. In the past, one of the requirements was that you must have a legal practitioner. When you are registering a company, a legal practitioner must depose to a declaration that the requirements of the law had been complied with. So that is now optional. If you are the owner of the company, you can do it directly. And another thing we've done to make the process of implementation of this law very easy for everybody is the deployment of a new technological solution that allows you to key in all the information about your company. And the major difference now is you don't even need to visit CAC to collect documents or to submit documents, or you don't need to use any courier company to deliver documents to CAC. You get your documents electronically. Once you open your dashboard, after completing the registration process, after approval, you will see the certificate and the certified extracts, and you print it. You may decide even not to print. And if you are acting for a customer, you don't even have to print. You can just forward these documents to the customer. And we've also seen some reduction in the cost. Unlike before, where for every new registration, customers had to pay for certified true certified true copies of the incorporation documents. That cost element has been removed. So what you do now is, if you are registering a company, you just pay the registration fee depending on the share capital, and you pay stamp duty. You don't need to pay the extra cost for certified true copies. We give you the first set of documents that are issued to you together with their certificates, come at no additional cost to you. So other areas that support the ease of doing business has to do with the integration with the Federal Revenue Service. We have a seamless integration that allows for exchange of information. Stamp duties is paid online. The documents are stamped electronically, so you don't need to leave the CAC portal to go to FIRS to stamp documents. And at the end of the registration, the certificate comes out with a tax identification number. Some of these things started before the new portal, but they're still contained in the new portal. And another major change that happened is the certificates and all documents now come with a QR code. So if anybody wants to know whether these documents are authentic, you can easily check. If you have a QR scanner on your phone, you can confirm that this document actually came from CAC. And one major difference to build on what we've been doing in the past is the portal now tells you about the company. Immediately you register, within the next 5 minutes, the name is reflected on public search. So anybody dealing with you can confirm whether that company is registered, and you can know the name, the address, the date of registration, and the registration number of that entity. And it will tell you the status of the company, whether the company is active, whether it's inactive, whether it is in liquidation, or whether it is dissolved. So this status is reflecting, unlike before where you can only see the name, the address, and the date of registration. So these are some of the things, the initiatives that have actually come with the new law to support the ease of doing business of the government.
So when we compare with what obtained in the past, has this led to the increase in the number of companies within a given period of time? So how many numbers of companies between January and March have you registered? What's the measure of increase that you have seen, and what's the amount of time required to register a company as against what obtained in the past, so we can look at it comparatively?
Okay, the major challenge actually is the usability. Most customers were used to the old format. The requirements have changed because of the new law. There are greater disclosure requirements now, unlike what obtained before. So we have situations where the information being provided by customers are not complete. And where the information is not complete, we cannot register the company. Secondly, we had backlog of applications that were caught up by the transition, the migration to the new portal. So any company that was not registered on the 23rd of December, when the old portal was shut down, when they now apply to proceed under the new portal, they must comply with the new requirements because the registration is being done under the new law. So that has caused some delay. And as I have said, because the requirements have changed, we have our guidelines, we have the regulation, we even have a multimedia on the website. But a lot of customers don't check these things. They initiate transactions, make submissions, only for the applications to be queried because they are not consistent with the requirements. So, but we've seen a surge in the number. I cannot give a definite figure now, but on the average, we receive about 5,000 applications for new limited liability companies every day.
But even if there was a backlog from December 2020, the system has been automated, so it ought to be faster. Securing certificates ought to be faster.
No, it depends
Since
on. It depends. You can't register a company if the requirements are not fulfilled. If application is queried and a customer fails to comply with that query, we cannot register. And typical of everything new, when we started, there were a few glitches, some bugs that had to be fixed, because for every new application, it comes with initial challenges. But the system has stabilized now. But the major area we have issues with usability. We still have situations where customers don't know how to migrate. Some don't even read these guidelines. A typical example is the requirements for disclosure of persons with significant control. Under the new requirement, you must disclose the PSC at the point of registration. We had a situation when we started when applications will be submitted without disclosing the PSCs. So we had to make that field mandatory because initially it was optional. So customers were bypassing that only for the application to be queried. The second issue had to do with the issued share capital. The law has now changed. Before now, you have authorized share capital and you are not obliged to issue everything. You are only required to issue up to 25% of your share capital. But under the new law, everything must be issued. So some of these issues For customers that fail to recognize the difference and still go on as if it is the same thing, of course they face challenges. And as I've said, the system is not perfect yet, because for everything new, you achieve perfection over time. As more customers are using this application, the more it becomes refined, the more they understand it, and the more we recognize and resolve all the glitches. So things are very stable now. The only other area we have some challenges has to do with the number of approving officers available, because we are still under some form of restriction. The government directives that officers on level 12 and below should stay at home. So we still have approving officers that cannot come to the office.
That is the only problem, and you are right that the system is not perfect, and it may be far from perfect.
No, I don't agree with you that it's not perfect.
If we went by the number of agents, or if you like, merchants of business registration at your Lagos office, months after the new process has been activated.
No. How many people did you see now?
If you went to your Lagos office now, they are in shelters.
No. You see,
To register.
No. In fact, what you are saying is very wrong, because even before the deployment.
They're there.
No. Let me tell you something. Even before the deployment of the new system, CAC closed physical presence of customers in its premises in Lagos and Abuja. We don't have any merchant.
They're merchants.
They're not in our office. They may be looking around.
Opposite the Lagos
No. But what I'm telling you is, even before the deployment of the new system, after the advent of COVID, we had to control the number of people coming into our premises. And we now introduce the use of courier companies. It's either you send your documents electronically or you send it to courier companies. No customers were not allowed to visit and drop documents in our offices in Lagos and Abuja. So if anybody is doing anything in Lagos, he's not doing it, he must send it still. He had to send it through courier companies. Documents were not being received directly by our Lagos offices. And when you are sending documents through courier companies under the old system, you have the option for home delivery, or you go and pick it from the offices of the courier company. So if there is any merchant, I don't know who those merchants are. I don't know them, but what we know for a fact is registration services since 2014 have been electronically driven. And to register any company, you must have an account on the company registration portal. And these accounts are only for lawyers, chartered accountants, and chartered secretaries. Every other person that creates an account must be part of that business. So if you are registering on behalf of any person, you must either be a lawyer, an accountant, or chartered secretary. If you are a public user, if you apply to register, the system automatically makes you one of the owners, and you don't have the privilege to change it. So if anybody is receiving anything from other people, I don't know how he's doing it, but for transactions that are done on the portal, you must be part of that business. So I will not dismiss the fact that there may be people that are touting, but if they are touting, maybe they are acting as agent for other professionals, because I don't see how somebody who is not a lawyer or accountant or chartered secretary will submit documents to CAC, and those documents will be processed, because for every document that is submitted by an accredited customer, you must put your accreditation number, and that accreditation number must match what is issued to you by CAC. You must put your other particulars, like your phone number and your email address, and we contact you through this address. So maybe you need to check again whether those merchants are still there. I believe. When last did you check?
My investigations can produce 2 documents that have been registered at the Corporate Affairs Commission in the last 1 or 2 years. So
no, if you say 2 years,
after that,
investigations
revealed that
no,
those
Bukola,
remain
Bukola.
So it brings me to my
Yeah,
next question.
yeah.
Is it because of the problem of adaptation that you acknowledged earlier by people to the new system? And what are you doing to communicate the ease of registering a company under the new re-promulgated?
I believe you are a witness to what we are doing because every week.
Because if people understood
No, wait, Bukola. You see, no, with due respect.
And then the touts will be
No, with due respect. As I have said, our processes are electronic. So I don't see how touts come in here. If you are a tout, it presupposes that you are not a professional. You are not an accountant. You are not a Treasury Secretary. You are not a lawyer. So there is no way you can register a company on behalf of another person if you are not a lawyer, an accountant, or Treasury Secretary. The system is configured in a way that immediately you create a public user account. For every registration you are going to do, automatically it makes you one of the owners. So I don't see how touts come in here. Maybe, except if they are working for other professionals. Maybe they are agents of other professionals. I recognize that we had issues with post-registration before, where the process was manual. But with the new system, it's now electronic. You can make all your changes electronically. And because of the transition from the old regime to the new regime, we had to give a window of 3 months to close on manual submission of post-registration applications. And that will end by the end of March. So, in fact, for any post-registration that comes with certification, like change of name, change of trustees, increase in share capital, those ones, since the 7th of this month, we have made it electronic. So by the end of March, even the post-registration has to be done on the portal. And what we have done to support, to further entrench this ease of doing business initiative is, a company has the option to have its own electronic account. So we've issued the guidelines, it has been published, it's on our website. Any company can create any of its officers as its authentication officer. So, and we'll create a username for him with a password that he will change after logging in. Through that account, he can make any filing on behalf of that company. And the old requirement where CAC was insisting, we used to insist that 2 directors must sign this and this and that, all these things have been relaxed. So any filing coming through that electronic account is deemed to have come from that company. Because the only way to create that account is where majority of the directors nominate that person. And evidence of such nomination is sent to us with the particulars of the person, and the account is created, and the link is sent to him. And we also have another system now. You can subscribe to Alert. You can subscribe to, you can follow any company or any entity that is registered by CAC by subscribing to email notification whenever there is any change on that, irrespective of that company or business name. And we're also looking at the option of having the same thing through SMS. So these are some of the changes we have introduced. And as I've said, touting used to be the order of the day in the past. But CAC is one of the agencies that actually curtail this incidence of touting. CAC is one of the few agencies that operates a truly self-service portal in Nigeria. You don't need the intervention of anybody to register your company. Maybe people exploit other people's ignorance. I can tell you, even if somebody collects applications, he can only process it through a professional.
Let's leave town.
Yes.
Let's go to lawyers.
Yes.
They talk about, even now, how the length of time to process an availability request takes time. They acknowledge that indeed it had been fast following the re-promulgation of CAMA, that it now required about 24 hours max. But now it's taking up to 72 hours, sometimes 4 days. Why does this long process
No. You see,
persist under automated system?
No, you see, Bukola.
And I'm talking about recent.
No, the system, by automation, we do not mean that names are automatically approved. The system doesn't approve names. It still requires human intervention. Somebody has to check the system, to check existing names, because there are requirements. The law is clear as to what constitutes similarity. And there are names that may be offensive, that the system cannot identify. So even where names are submitted for approval, somebody has to look at the database and make a decision whether these names are distinctive, because the law says a company cannot be registered where the name is similar to that of an existing company. It's closely similar as to be calculated to deceive. There are words too that are restricted. Words such as national, federal, state. And when you are registering an incorporated trustee or company limited by guarantee, you require a reservation code. So it has to go through a different process. And you have to front load the information. We have to know who the trustees are, if it is an incorporated trustee. We have to know the objectives, whether the objectives are even registrable, and whether the trustees are fit and proper. Because in some cases, we may not just approve the name without reference to other agencies. So the system has significantly improved. And as I have said,
even if it required
wait, Bukola, as I have said, I have made this, given this background. We are not working with the full complements of our officers. We are still working with less than 50% of our staff. Because officers on level 13 and above are just about 40% of the workforce. A lot of staff are still at home because of government directive that level 12 officers and above should stay at home. They are supposed to work from home. But if they don't have the tools to work from home, what do? They need devices, they need laptops. We couldn't provide laptop for everybody. So these are some of the constraints. These are some of the constraints that we're trying to address. We have made provision in our budget this year to buy additional laptops for our staff so that they can work from anywhere. If you are looking for staff that are dedicated and hardworking, I'm telling you there is no second to CAC. Because even at midnight, our staff are approving. Some don't even have their own private lives again. The few staff that have devices, they work till 12 midnight because of the volume of applications. So married women, wait.
Under normal circumstances
now,
when you have the full complement of your staff, in a situation where an availability request is put through to the Commission's website, what is the length of time that should be ideal? Because I imagine that it should work like an algorithm. So if you put in an availability request, all
algorithm, there is a limit to algorithm. Wait, Bukola, there is a limit to algorithm. Of course, it comes up before an officer approves. The test case in Nigeria is how a name looks, how a name sounds. And I have talked about restricted and prohibited names. This requires human judgment. Somebody has to look at it. Sometimes even where an officer has approved, nobody is infallible. We're human beings. You could have made a mistake. So sometimes these names, at the point of final approval, maybe of certificate, you'll discover that there is a similar name. And you have to query it. So our ideal service timeline for name approval before these issues of COVID and others was 24 hours. In fact, we had almost returned to 24 hours before this second wave of restriction on category of officers. So these are matters that we have to recognize that these are unusual times. This thing is not peculiar to Nigeria. Other countries have even closed their registries. Kenya, South Africa, and Uganda had to close their registries for some time. But even at the height of the total lockdown, we are still coming to do some skeletal services here. So this shows the commitment. Our staff are very dedicated. People, I'm telling you, some married women, it's even beginning to create problem for them because some of the husbands are accusing them that, look, they don't have anything doing except CAC work. Because with devices, they work at home. Unlike before, where we were only generating certificates on working days. We've dispensed with that. Even on Saturdays and Sundays, we send certificates to customers. So that shows you the level of dedication. But the deluge of applications, with the increasing number of applications and the limited number of personnel, there's no way you can do 24 hours. Because if you have more applications, what we have now is for registration. Each officer approves a minimum of 100 in a day. That's the tax given to them. And when they are approving, you don't just look and approve. You have to check whether the requirements have been made. You even have to read the objects, whether the objects are registrable before you approve. Because people may try to insert things that shouldn't be allowed. So Every officer approves a minimum of 100. Availability, they do more than this. So this shows you the level of commitment and dedication. I'm telling you, in Nigeria, that I don't think there is any other agency that has this level of dedicated staff as we're doing this.
The Nigeria Labour Congress picketed the commission just some weeks back over issues relating to your refusal to allow your workers to unionize.
No, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. That was a total falsehood and misrepresentation of facts.
Let's have the truth.
What happened was we had a single union within the commission, which is OPTA, Association of Amalgamated Union of Public Corporations and theater and other employees. There was a decision of the National Industrial Court that declared that union a junior staff union. And based on that, that decision is still subsisting. The decision has not changed. Unfortunately, all the officials of the local chapter are senior staff. So we can't allow that union to continue operating with senior staff. So we now issued a directive that all staff that are senior staff in that union should leave. They can join any other recognized trade union. But for junior staff, they can continue after. And we have continued to deduct check-up dues in respect of junior staff. So they went and misrepresented packs to NLC. They were junior staff, and they became a threat to the system, making things, governance difficult in this place. Because first and foremost, you are an employee before a unionist. Another group of staff went and joined SASGOG, the Senior Staff Association of Statutory Corporations. They came here and they were integrated. The other group that were in OPTA were insisting that they must remain in OPTA, even though they were junior staff, they were senior staff. We said no. So they started creating problem within the system, accusing anyone that doesn't agree with their point of view. They call them mediocres, abusing everybody. They became a threat to the system. So we had to transfer them out and post them to different offices. They are still in the employment of the commission. But it's not a right of anybody to remain in the head office. When somebody is employed, it's clear you can be posted anywhere. So they were posted, and we have peace and tranquility in the system. So the matter is in court now. So when they insisted, we now filed an action.
Indeed, the story acknowledges that some workers were transferred, but I was hoping that you will cover the entire picture, but you have not.
So what is outstanding? What is outstanding?
Labour is also saying that accusing management of flagrant violation of workers' rights under the cover of COVID-19 pandemic policy.
What are those rights? What are those rights?
Women and union officials who demanded for payment of promotion arrears or voiced resistance to inhuman treatment were given punitive transfers.
Bukola, it has never been better for CSC workers than now.
Promotion arrears
Let me tell you something. Our payment of arrears is a function of availability of funds. When I took over in January 2020, I made backlog of promotions. 2019 promotion was not conducted because the acting registrar general then said she didn't have money to pay money, even for promotion, not arrears. When I came, for the first time, we conducted 2 exams within the same year, 2019 and 2020. The same union had written to the former acting registrar general, even forfeiting the right to arrears at that time. So when the promotions were approved, we didn't have budgetary provision to pay arrears dating back to 2019 because the promotion exam was conducted in 2020. And the board took a decision that, look, for the purpose of maintaining seniority, the promotion should take effect from January 2019. But financial benefits should be from 1st January 2020. So, but beyond that, they didn't tell you what management did to clear all the backlog of their pension contributions. When I took over, pension contributions dating back to 2017 were outstanding. We cleared almost all of that within 1 year. The liabilities that were paid was over 5 billion naira carried forward from previous years. So, and most of them were staff liabilities. So you don't just pay arrears because this is a government agency that is guided by rules. You have a budget, you have to operate within your budget. Just because I want to please somebody, I can't go and act contrary to let down procedure and approvals. There's a limit. And all those that were promoted in 2020 were paid the differential in salary from 1st January 2020 up to the date of the approval in December. The same thing for 2019. They were paid from 1st January up to October when this promotion was approved. So all these are, you see, when somebody wants to be mischievous.
But is this constitutional right? Is this right to protest non-payment or delay in payment?
Did anybody? Well, nobody stop them from protesting. Did anybody stop them?
Is that the reason they perceive their transfer as punitive action for protesting?
Bukola,
Did you punish them for transfers
they don't have,
because they protested?
They don't have locals. They don't have any locals to agitate because the law is clear. The courts have pronounced after a junior staff union. So they were no longer. They don't have any locals to demand management to do anything. They are just like every other employee.
Is that not repression?
What is repression? Okay, maybe you question the court that said Opta is a junior staff union, not me. We are only enforcing the law. The court declared Opta a junior staff union.
And is it true, Registrar General, that the Commission hired thugs to disrupt peaceful protest of workers demanding their rights?
When NLC came here, in fact, NLC, they brought thugs with them. Our staff resisted, didn't allow anybody. It was more or less an issue between two unions because the senior staff were under TUC, so they resisted any intrusion from NLC. Nobody hired thugs. It was in the broad daylight. All the people that resisted were within this building. Nobody could have been brought into this building if it's not a staff. The security agencies were around. So, but we saw those that came and they were changing dress in broad daylight, and money was being shared to those that came for the picketing. We saw it. They made all kind of wild allegations, but we will not be distracted. Will not be distracted.
So the fate of the transferred workers remains unchanged. They remain transferred.
Transferred, you see, if you are an employee, you don't have a decision as to where you're going to work. I have told you, they don't have any locals as union officials because they're senior staff. That union belongs to junior staff. And management has the right to transfer anybody to anyone. It was not punitive because they were paid. They were paid their transfer benefits. They were duly paid. If it was a punitive transfer, we wouldn't have paid them. So if you subscribe to work in an organization, one of the first conditions given to you is you should be ready to work anywhere. And we have sent them to areas of need.
Is this subtly punitive, Registrar General?
Well, I don't know that. Maybe that's your own word.
Because of their opposition approach?
Opposition? Look, Bukola, this is an organization that is guided by rules. I could have done otherwise. I could have.
Are you authoritarian in your style of leadership? The reason I ask this is because
you see, there is nothing.
Lawyers who protested also were said to have been delisted, and only it was after appeals that they
lawyers were delisted because they didn't have any right to come into this building and disrupt our operations. That is unbecoming of a legal practitioner to walk in here, climb to 6th floor, and disrupt the operations of the organization. Everybody has a legitimate right to protest peacefully. They will protest outside. This is not their office. This is not lawyers' office. So the lawyers that were suspended were lawyers that entered these premises and disrupted our operations. They don't have any right to do that. For our staff, they were no longer union officials because the courts have declared that union is junior staff union. And nobody, they have written all manner of things. I'm not bothered. They have written petitions, made lies that I built a car park of 250 million. That project was incepted more than 7 years ago. I made it like this. In fact, what I even did on that car park was to insist that the construction was complete at no additional cost to the commission. There was a proposal for additional variation when I took over. I refused that variation and gave him a deadline within which to complete the work. He had to do that. So there is no authoritarianism. But the thing is, if you are running an institution, you have to do it in a manner that will guarantee the safety of everybody. Anybody that feels he can constitute a threat to the organization, you can't allow that person to remain in the system and continue to threaten other staff, because the issue was degenerating to a situation of anarchy. The former union officials, anybody that did not agree with their point of view, they tagged mediocre. They were making insightful statements, incendiary remarks on their platform. Nobody will allow that. No chief executive will tolerate that. I'm not authoritarian. I'm guided by rules. But CSC comes first before any of us. And anybody that thinks he's a threat to this system, we cannot accept that.
As we coast home gradually, you have been quoted to say that unclaimed dividends, dormant account balances are safer with government, following government's decision to borrow to fund the 2021 deficit budget. Please provide some clarity.
Yes, our position is, we made this known before the National Assembly, because under the current law, before the Finance Act 2021, what the law provides is, after such a number of years, the shareholder loses his right to claim this money after 12 years. And the company is allowed to redistribute. That's somebody's money you are redistributing. So after that 12 years, even if the shareholder can forward, he can recover those monies. And even where these monies were said to be under the old CAM, where the law says the money should be invested by the company, and somebody can claim that money, how many people are coming to claim this money? Most of these dividends are penny stocks, because we have them. Sometimes if you have a dividend of less than 3,000, 2,000 naira, and maybe the warrant has become stale, if you look at the cumbersome process of revalidating that warrant, you rather forgo it. So majority of those people are not even coming to claim this money. So, but their right has to be protected. The right to property has to be protected. And there is no limitation to that. So that's our own position. If this money is with government, anytime somebody comes forward, you can claim it. But the company may go under. The company may be wonder tomorrow. If the company is wonder, where will you claim your money from? But with government is a continuum. Government is unending. You can at any time.
The government has been known to owe pensions.
Which pensions? Maybe you need to find out. I think that.
So if government has been known to owe its workers in the past, and these people came forward to claim their monies within the time frame, and they're unable to get
there is no time frame now. With government, there is no time frame. Unlike under the Gamma 2020, which has not been changed. It says after a certain period, the company can redistribute money to other shareholders. They didn't invest this money. Why should they benefit from it? So, but what the law has now said is the money should be taken by government. And that the right of that shareholder to claim back his money remains unfettered. Even after 100 years, his family can claim the money with God. And as I've said, a company may die, a company may be wondered. The company may go insolvent. So why will he find the money if it is with the company, even within the 12 years? So, but with government, that right is protected. And what the law has done is to actually emphasize on the constitutional right to property. Because it's your property. There shouldn't be any limit to you claiming what is yours. And you cannot enforce that on the company. You cannot. So this is one of the best decisions that has happened. And this still remains our position, because you can always assert your right with government. And you can claim this money. All you need to do is to establish that you are the shareholder, or you are the personal representative of that deceased shareholder.
And we hope that at that material time, government will have the integrity and the resources to pay those funds. We thank you very much, Registrar General, for painstakingly providing clarifications on these issues that were brought before you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
you so much. Thank you.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you for your company. Join us again, same time next week. We'll bring you another edition of the program. I am Bukola Samuel. Bye for now.